I always laugh sometimes when people have a hard time working a double feed malfunction with two hands, let alone one hand. And that's what we're going to cover next. How to do it with one hand. And then not only that, but some tricks that will help us get the job done and get this gun back up. Before we roll right through this, let's look at a couple different things that we kind of have to note. If you're running a magwell on your gun, specifically say a Glock, and you're running a flush mag, you are going to have a really hard time sometimes prying some of these mags out of the gun. So that can be an issue for you, and you have to figure, do I give up a faster speed reload, or do I give up having to figure out a way in which to get something into the magwell in order to pry that mag out. A lot of times we end up having to hook lips on the holster to rip this mag out. So for a lot of my Glocks, the way they're set up is there's enough of a crack around there, because most of mine are G17s converted over to 19s, to where I can catch things on the side and rip it out. So I don't run a magwell, which would make me be able to reload the gun faster, but I also have 15 to 17 in the gun, so I feel pretty confident in that. And I'm more worried about getting injured and not being able to get the mag out in the event that I have a malfunction. Everybody differs. I'm just going to tell you that anything that's flush to the bottom of the magwell is going to be hard. If you run an extension, it'll be a lot easier, and then what we're talking about won't really matter. Now, as we start to go into some attributes of different types and styles of guns, if you have anything that's ambi, where you can raise your trigger finger on this side and it'll lock the slide to the rear, then you're going to be much better off. I'm running just an old school 1911, but one of the things that I like, especially when you order a custom gun from a lot of these manufacturers, right here I have them kind of scallop underneath there and or texture it. And what that allows is an easier facilitation in regards to me getting my thumb in a spot to where I can get some traction on it. So again, some other things to take into consideration and think about. All right, let's break this down. First thing I'm going to do, if this is in my weapon hand, I'm going to utilize that holster, or I can utilize my belt, appendix carry, real simple as well. Even 3/4 o'clock, I can do this. I have a couple options. I can target rear sight or the ejection port. In my opinion, since the ejection port is already fouled, I'm not going to foul it any worse. So I know that this area right in here, it's easier for me to get to than sometimes slipping off this. And sometimes what happens is, as I'm trying to do this and move my thumb, because I've got to get my thumb right here at the bottom, it can be a real challenge. So I'll roll the gun over. It'll be in this format right here. It's now pre-set up for me to hook it, and that's it. Don't make this any more complicated than it needs to be. You are only moving this. If you look at where that slide stop is right here, I'm only moving it just enough to get it to lock back. So when I'm here in this position, again, I can roll it here. I can go and catch it right here on this side of the holster. I can catch it on the top of the holster. I can catch it on the back corner of the holster right here. And if need be, I can even start to catch it like that on pant. What I'm doing with my pants is that I am pushing in and driving forward at the same time. So I call it kind of like squishing and pushing. It might make sense to some of you guys, but nevertheless, it'll lock the slide to the rear. And then I can also use the belt if necessary. These are all those specific hard points that I'm looking for. Reaction hand differs a little, so I'm going to cover that separately. All right, on the reaction hand, a lot of times people have a hard time trying to work rear sight and get that trigger finger to move that slide release into a locked position. So one of the things that I did many years ago, and it makes it real easy, at least for me, is I move my thumb to the back of the beaver tail right here. And this is what it looks like. Same thing for Glocks and anything else. Notice now the angle changes on my finger, and that allows you to be pushing up into this direction. And it's as simple as driving down and it's locked. Okay, just that little bit, trying to do that, sitting here trying to catch this and move my finger up, it's a real pain. Same thing, fabric, I'll push in just like we talked about, making sure that my thumb is behind that beaver tail. And then of course the gun is in a locked position. And like I said earlier, that's with 18.5 pounds of spring. So anybody running 9 mils or most of the modern firearms, this will be a lot easier and faster to compress. Let's go under the guise that you are in straight prone or one of the urban prone positions. The biggest thing here is we're going under the thought process of we can't get to our back, because if we can get to our back, we can do everything that we just saw a second ago. And this is where it's going to get a lot more challenging, especially in your environment's really going to dictate your success or not, whether you're going to be able to do this. So understanding that we're either laying on our appendix carry holster and we can't get to it because we can't get to our back, or we're IWB and it's just way too far away from us right now. How do we use the ground in front of us to help facilitate this? And again, this is going to be a pain in the ass. So with that said, once I'm down on the ground, I now have that challenge of how do I lock that slide to the rear? Okay, I want to get it into a spot where I can lock it, and we know that if I try to do it this way, I can do it this way as well, and for some people this might be better. Now my finger is on the slide release right now. One of the things to think about is don't think about it as cycling the slide. Again, this time we're going to pin the entire slide. Even if this was concrete, the more weight you get on this, the better. And what we're going to try to do right here is get up on the gun and lock. It doesn't have to go that far and the slide's already locked to the rear. We can do the same thing, get over into this position right here, get the thumb up in a real high position and just move the frame. That works as well. So when we're in these positions, again, just something to consider. As far as reaction hand, if this is a reaction hand, it's actually really easy because I ground the gun, I shift the way my hand is, and my trigger finger looks like this right here, and all that I do is just move the frame while digging the slide in. And the more pressure you get on this, the less you're going to be dragging your sights across the ground. Look, I understand you may rip a set of sights off the gun. Who cares? Get me a working gun. Just get me a working gun. So all that we're doing is trying to get this gun back into order so you have something to protect yourself with. You've already been shot once or multiple times. Let's end this guy. Let's get this over with as fast as possible.